We have a quorum. We'll gather some more up. Do we have any messages? No messages. All right.
A report to vote on.
Okay.
But we'll want to wait until everybody's here. And some SEA.
Can I hand me the enrolled acts? I'll do them right now. Signing of enrolled acts. Senate Enrolled Act 63.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 63, being Original Senate File 83, an act relating to the revision of statutes and other legislative enactments.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act Number 63, originally being Senate File 83. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act Number 64.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 64, being Original Senate File 90, an act relating to public funds.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act Number 64, originally being Senate File 90. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act Number 65.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 65, being Original Senate File 41, an act relating to banks, banking, and finance.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act Number 65, originally being Senate File 41. I have so signed. You can have all you need. Senator Hicks, if you're ready, on Joint Conference Committee Number 1 report referencing Senate File 118, I'll have it read in.
Joint Conference Committee Number 1 report on Senate File 118, Joint Conference Committee Number 1 referencing House Message Number 276, signed Representatives Western, Conrad, and Haroldson, Senators Hicks, Ide, and Steinmetz.
Senator Hicks.
Mr. President, I move that you vote to concur on Joint Conference Committee report, reference House Message Number 276 on the original Senate File 118, and vote aye. Members of the body, we went down and we did a little arm wrestling and a little leg wrestling with our colleagues down there. They actually did some good stuff with this bill. We came up with a very reasonable compromise, which basically consisted of just changing a particular date to make it more workable for all the parties involved, and I would encourage you to vote aye.
Motion is the Senate do adopt the Joint Conference Committee Number 1 report referencing Senate File 118 and vote aye. Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Joint Conference Committee Report Number 1 to Senate File 118, roll call. Anderson? Aye. Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Aye. Barlow? Aye. Beitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Aye. Brennan? Aye. Aye. Case? No. Cooper? Aye. Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Ellis? Aye. French? Aye. Murphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Aye. Hutchings? Aye. 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 Jones? Aye. Kinski? Aye. Cole? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Driscoll?
Aye.
'Aye. 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 'A Closing. Vote closed. Joint Conference Committee number 1 to Senate File 118, 30 aye, 1 no.
By your vote, you have adopted the Joint Conference Committee Report number 1, referencing Senate File 118. We are back on the budget bill. Senator Nethercott, I'm not sure where we're going. We're on the budget bill again. Where would we like to start?
Mr. President, we were just answering questions, I think. I think we left off, to my recollection, with the senator from Sheridan County providing a recap of some fund expenditures. Other than that, we are taking questions from the floor.
Senator Steinmetz.
Thank you, Mr. President. For my first time on the University of Wyoming, just a little bit of discussion on, there was a trifecta of amendments there. One regarding the diversity, equity, and inclusion. I want to make sure that I'm reading that correctly, that has been defunded and is no longer allowed at the university. And then some discussion on why the deletion of the amendment to delete gender studies and the budget coming back to more of a standardized budgeting process than the block grant, so that the legislature would have more insight and transparency into that budget. It's obviously probably a very complicated budget. So just some discussion about what the committee, why they took the actions they did on that.
Senator Hutchins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A like question on the diversity, inclusion, and equity program. They're not spending any funds on it, but wonder, from the general fund, but wonder, are they gonna spend any funds on that program? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Dockstader.
Thank you, Mr. President. On those first questions, as far as the program goes, that's under 2011-00, that's under state aid, endowments, and matching university. That was kept. No funds from the state aid and endowments, matching appropriations shall be expended on the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. That one was kept. The others were eliminated through vote. I oppose those changes, but the one is still in there. As far as the funding goes, it's my understanding the funding is not there, but the program is, the call to eliminate the program is still there. Anybody else would like to follow up on that?
Thank you, Senator Dockstader. Senator Nethercott.
Mr. President, thank you. So the DEI program at the University of Wyoming has been eliminated in total, both the funding and the program, by the actions of this body. The JCC committee adopted the Senate's position in total. The language and the funding. The gender studies was never funded, right? We do a block grant to the University of Wyoming and they determine their programming. So there's no dollar amount associated with that amendment. And so it was through compromise that we removed that, because it really was kind of another piece where you're legislating in the budget. So that amendment was never connected to an appropriation. It simply was a directive to the university that that program should be eliminated. But because they're on a block grant funding, it's not connected to any particular dollar amount. So we removed that. As you know, I supported, or as you recall, the desire to have a conversation with the university to change the budgeting process, that I felt a more transparent process with the JAC committee would be good for both the university and the legislature. Unfortunately, that one just didn't survive in the joint conference. Again, not connected to an appropriation of dollars, so not a lot of effort in our 24 hours of time went into this if it didn't have a dollar amount associated with it. But I do look forward to bringing that conversation up again As you know, I supported that position, but it just didn't survive, but no appropriation with that amendment, so again, it's just telling the University of Wyoming what to do via budget footnote. So those directives to the university via budget footnote are gone, but the appropriation as identified from the state aid endowment and matching for the 1.7 million has been eliminated from general funds for the purpose of DEI at the University of Wyoming.
Further discussion? Senator McEwen.
Mr. President, shall the main question be now put?
Senator Scott.
Mr. President, are we at the point of stopping to answer questions and discussing the budget as a whole? Where are we?
I believe that's where we are with the motion, so Senator Scott, proceed.
Did he move the previous question, Mr. President?
I believe he did.
So are we open for debate on the budget?
Yes, sir, we're not going to close debate till the body's done. You know, the motion's in order once there isn't debate, but if not, the question doesn't get called.
Mr. President,
Excuse me. Senator Barlow.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I think if the main motion, it's basically calling for the previous question, that may be debatable, but it actually goes to a vote.
Okay.
Unless it's withdrawn. It takes a 2/3 to stop debate on the bill.
Very good.
Is that,
I believe that's
and I'd be
correct.
I'd be glad to ask the Rules Committee to make a ruling on it. There's other people a lot better at this than me. But to stop debate in the
I
body,
think you're great.
2/3 vote.
I didn't catch the 3 seconds the way it was going. Senator Rothfuss, would you like to opine? Stand east, sound of the gavel. We're going to do a little research, but I think you're correct, Senator Barlow. Okay. Front. Rule 12.8 in the Senate rules, previous question. Small a, any member may move the previous question, and if it be seconded by 3 other members, which it was, the previous question shall be put in this form. Shall the main question be now put? The motion will bring the Senate to a vote on the pending question without further discussion. Senator Roth, is that in line with where you're at? Excuse me?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, it is. It is a majority. It is not a 2/3 in the Wyoming Senate. And this motion then is not a debatable motion. If this motion passes, then it's a question on the underlying motion, which is obviously on the budget. So this is a motion then to end debate. A majority vote ends debate.
And then what comes next, did you say?
And then if it passes, we would then have an immediate vote on the budget.
Very good. Everyone understand that? So a yes vote will stop debate and put us to a vote on the budget. A no vote means you would like to continue debating. Chief Clerk will call the roll. Could the second stand up again? Larson, Senator Larson, Senator Bouchard, Senator Grew, Senator French, how many would you like? Larson, Grew, French, Bouchard.
Voting on motion for the previous question. House Bill 1. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Barlow? No. Whitman? No. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Brennan? No. Case? No. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Ellis? No. French? Aye. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? No. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? Aye. Jones? Aye. Kinski? Aye. Cole? Aye. Landon? No. Larson? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? No. Schuler? Aye. Scott? No. Steinmetz? No. President Driscoll?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. On the motion for previous question, 20 aye, 11 no.
By your vote, motion for previous question has passed the Senate. We are now on immediately to a vote on the budget, which is Joint Conference Committee number, I don't have the bill in front of me.
It's number 2,
Reference to House Bill 1,
committee number 2.
Committee number 2. Joint Conference Committee number 2 on House Bill 1. Chief Clerk will call the roll. An aye vote is an aye on the budget, and no vote is a no.
House Bill 1, Joint Conference Committee number 2, roll call vote. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Whitman? No. Boner? No. Bouchard? No. Brennan? No. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Ellis? Aye. French? No. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? No. Hutchings? No. Ide? No. Jones? Aye. Kinski? No. Cole? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? No. McEwen? No. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? No. Schuler? Aye. Scott? No. Steinmetz? No. President Driscoll?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Joint Conference Committee 2 to House Bill 1, 17 aye, 14 no.
By your vote, Joint Conference Committee number 2 to House Bill 1 has passed the Senate. Thank all of you. This has been an unbelievably hard time. Thank everybody for all that has gone. Huge thank you to the staff, the hours that got put in a short period of time. I'd actually like, if we could, to get, Elizabeth, can you come up? Here, here. Senator Case,
May I have privilege of the floor, sir?
you may.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm rising for the privilege of thanking you, sir, for the gift of something that's going to be really important to my town. So everybody, this is the 70th anniversary of Lester Hunt's death. That'll be June 19th this summer. And at that time, Washington was the most divided it ever was. even more divided than the times we have now. In fact, the divisions in politics at that time were absolutely deadly. And Lester Hunt, Wyoming's House of Representatives, Secretary of State, Governor, and U.S. Senator, was a victim of that times very, very directly. And Mr. President, I thank you because you have given me this silver vase that was presented to Lester Hunt in 1952 by the Wyoming Dental Association. And Lester Hunt had been a dentist, of course, but he was a baseball player too, and he played for Lander, as you all might know. And our good president found this and acquired it and has presented it. I'm going to hang on to it for a little while because I don't have much actual connection there. You know, Lester Hunt was my father's business partner. My father was an honorary pallbearer at his funeral, and I went to the grave of Lester Hunt this afternoon in Bethel Cemetery. It's an extraordinary story where a man who shot himself on Saturday, both houses of Congress passed courtesy resolutions on Monday and then adjourned. And Lester Hunt's body laid in state at the United States Capitol on Monday. That night, he was flown to Cheyenne, and he was met, and his body laid in state in this Capitol. Can you imagine a person lay in state in both capitals? All within such a few days. On the Tuesday following is when the funeral was held down at the Episcopal Church here, and the burial was in the Bethel Cemetery. So the reason Lester was targeted so much was because the United States Senate was absolutely dead even, and very divided politics. They didn't think he could win back home if they could find scandal because the political situations were changing in Wyoming, so they were trying to get him out. They did get him out. But we need to remember people like Lester Hunt in those times. And Mr. President, by your gift, and this will end up in the Lander Museum someday, by your gift to those times, when we think about how we treat each other and how people treated Mr. Hunt and how we could all do better, because that's probably the darkest time in America previous. You know, there were other dark times, Civil War, World War I, when people were persecuted. That's the most dark in our modern times, Mr. President, and let's not go there. I'm very grateful to you, sir. God bless.
Thanks, Senator Case. There's nothing else. We're going to stand at ease to the sound of the gavel. Senator Nethercott, real quickly.
Mr. President, thank you. If you haven't had a chance yet, good senators, to take a minute and go see the beautiful work of our Senator Ellis and find your patch on that quilt, I think it means so much to see us there, quilted together for the future of Wyoming. Again, a wonderful thank you to Senator Ellis for bringing us together in such a beautiful way and only that she could do. So go find your patch on her quilt as we have been sewn together in history.
Here, here. I believe we've been told the budget may take as much as 3 or 4 hours. We're hoping sooner, but due to your good graces, we might actually be able to be done before midnight. We'll do them when we're We will come back at 4 o'clock. we have messages read in, please?
From the House of Representatives, March 8, 2024, message number 304, Joint Conference Committee number 1 adopted. Mr. President, the House adopted Joint Conference Committee number 1 report on House Bill 92, Protection of Parental Rights. Ayes 41, noes 20, excused 1. Ayes 41, noes 20. Signed, Katie Talbot, House Chief Clerk.
Thank you. Senator Lander, you ready with Joint Conference Committee Report number 1 on Senate File 92?
I am, Mr. President.
Could we have it read in?
Joint Conference Committee Report number 1 on referencing House Bill 92, Protection of Parental Rights. Signed, Representatives Stiff, Clauston, and Lawley. Senators Landon, Boner, and Rothfuss.
Senator Landon.
Mr. President, thank you. I would move Joint Conference Committee report referencing House Bill 92, Protection of Parental Rights. That is Senate message number 313. Mr. President, what we did, we came together on this bill, and what we agreed to do is to accept a couple of the Senate committee amendments, and then the Senate would recede on a piece of it. Let me walk you through exactly what that meant. So the House receded to us on the Senate position regarding that unemancipated language that we pulled in. They agreed that that was actually a good addition to the bill. The House receded to the Senate position on a portion of the Senate second reading amendment with respect to deleting the reference to the courts. And we agreed, at least for now, that we would recede to the House position with respect to the private right of action. And so that removes the language on that right of action. I think that's proper until we can get a little bit better look at that. I think it's a good compromise, Mr. President. I think the bill still does what the primary sponsor wants it to do. I thought that Sweetwater County Senator presented the bill well over here. It still does what I think the intent is, and I would ask for you to support concurrence. Thank you.
Motion is for discussion, seeing none. Motion is the Senate do adopt Joint Conference Committee Report number 1, referencing Senate House Bill 92, and vote aye. Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Roll call vote, Joint Conference Committee number 1 to House Bill 92. Anderson? Aye. Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Beitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Ellis? Aye. French? Aye. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Aye. Jones? Aye. Kinski? Cole? Kinski? Landon?
Aye.
Aye. Larson? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Driscoll?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote? Closing. Vote closed. Joint Conference Committee Report number 1 to House Bill 92, 30 aye, 1 no.
By your vote, you have adopted Joint Conference Committee Report number 1, reference Senate File 92. Randy, I've got some reading for you. Where's she at? Hey, Judy, could you please come down? Come on. Get up here. All right, Randy.
The 67th Legislature of the State of Wyoming recognizes Judy Parks, a joint resolution recognizing the dedication of Judy Parks to the Legislature of the State of Wyoming. Be it resolved by the 67th Legislature of the State of Wyoming, whereas Ms. Parks served the Legislature of the State of Wyoming in a respectful, devoted, loyal, and diligent manner for 28 years as a committee secretary and staff supervisor for Senate session staff. And whereas Ms. Parks served under the direction of 3 chief clerks of the Senate, and whereas Ms. Parks interviewed, hired, trained, and developed session staff personnel to support the legislature of the state of Wyoming, and whereas Ms. Parks' service started early in the morning and ended late at night to ensure that all committee meetings were supported, whereas Ms. Parks demonstrated care and compassion for all during session and all year round by bringing meals to staff in times of need, supporting student aides, and visiting former session staff and her families. And whereas Ms. Parks assisted legislative spouses with their monetary dues and disbursements, whereas Ms. Parks accounted for the Senate Courtesy Fund in a fair, equitable, and respectful manner, whereas Ms. Parks supported the Chaplain of the Day tradition and solicited chaplains of different denominations to meet diverse spiritual needs. And whereas Ms. Parks' commitment to public service includes volunteering at the Wyoming State Capitol as a docent and a tour guide, and whereas Ms. Parks has visited numerous Capitol buildings across the nation to enrich her knowledge of other legislatures, and whereas Ms. Parks is wife to Doug, mother to Jessica and Angie, and most importantly, Oma, to 2 beautiful grandchildren, Gwendolyn and Adler. Whereas Ms. Parks' family is dedicated to public service, as Doug served many years as Doctor of the Day, and Angie provides evening copy support for the legislature. And whereas Ms. Parks is a world traveler and an enthusiastic student of history and other world cultures. Whereas Ms. Parks is a music connoisseur, attending all the brass concerts in which Doug and Angie play the tuba and the trumpet. Whereas Ms. Parks is an active member of her community and volunteers in local community organizations, including the Botanic Gardens and the local PEO chapter. And whereas Ms. Parks and her husband are active members of the Scottish Society and wear the colors and kilts well. And whereas Ms. Parks' personality, professionalism, and profound institutional knowledge collected over 28 years of service will be missed by all. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the undersigned members of the 67th Legislature of the State of Wyoming that on behalf of the State of Wyoming, we hereby recognize and express our gratitude to Ms. Parks for her 28 years of devoted and loyal service to the Legislature of the State of Wyoming. Signed, Ogden Driscoll, President of the Wyoming Senate, Representative Albert Summers, Speaker of the Wyoming House of Representatives, and undersigns.
Wow.
You have the floor. Give you this. You have the floor.
Wow, you guys. I was beginning to wonder why all the research and analyst people were up there with me. I thought, why are they coming to hear the last of our, joint conference committee reports? I wasn't expecting this at all. and I know Ellen put you all up to this, but gosh, thank you so much. You know, things have changed a lot over the 28 sessions I've worked up here, but it's been a joy. And I have truly learned something new every year. I was telling the doorman and the sergeant-at-arms that this year I learned how to run the lift on the loading dock. So the Joe Ed guy would park his truck down at the bottom, and he said, well, yeah, just take that handle thing off the wall. And so I lowered the lift down, and he comes on it with his two-wheel dolly, and it's stacked up with juices for the House and Senate chambers. And then I got to lower it back down. It's kind of a cool thing to learn. So I thought, I need a hard hat now. But no, I've really learned something new every session, and the technology has changed a lot. My office used to be back here in the corner before the Capitol remodeled, and so I used to do all the copying in the back of the chamber for amendments, joint conference committees, concurrences, all of that. That's when all of you did paper, everyone did paper. I always used to help put together Senator Scott's little magazine rack thing there. But now other people have learned how to put it together, so I didn't have to do it this year. So Clarissa Nord has learned how to do the secretaries over in Hirschler 1 West, and I feel confident that this is the time to leave, and she's doing a great job, and all the people respect her and get along with her, and so, you know, you gotta have the moment where you kind of feel like, yeah, this is the time, and, but I appreciate you all, and I can't believe you've done this. And to tell you the truth, when I first started, you never went on the Senate floor when it was in session unless you were invited on the Senate floor. And I would see my predecessor and people retire ahead of me, and if they were invited on the Senate floor, I thought, wow, that's really neat. To tell you the truth, this is only the second time in 28 years I was invited on the Senate floor, and I feel very honored and privileged. Thank you very much.
Judy Hancock. Can you step up to Mike?
So I understand I have some family here. I saw Angie.
Come on, you're all welcome on the floor.
Angie's our copy clerk in the evening, so when we all go home, she comes in and copies all the calendars and purple sheets for all of you. And she's done it for quite a while. So we appreciate what she does too. And yes, my husband did retire from medicine. He's on OPA duty today. Okay. OPA and OMA duty starts at 4:30 when the grandkids get off the bus, and we have to be with them for an hour till their parents come home. And my other daughter and her husband are in Memphis, Tennessee for a medical conference. So we're taking care of the kids this weekend, but that's probably why he couldn't come. He has to be there to pick up the kids off the bus. So, but he retired from medicine, and that's why you did not see him this year as Doctor of the Day, because he's retired and he also gave up his license. So now he's an official grandfather, and he reads a lot of books. So I'm glad you came. So thank you, Mr. President.
So Judy, we could do another 4 pages of whereases on yours, and we deeply cannot thank you enough for all you've done. It's truly a big deal. Let's give one more. Now, we've got a lot of legislative staff before you leave. I want to get everybody that's legislative staff down here on the floor. I'm going to tell you, this body, it's going to surprise you when everybody walks out of here and we empty the bullpen, how many people there is that make us look good. And we want you all out here. I'm telling you, deep heartfelt thank you to all of you. Look at this. Yeah. How many people does it take to make a senator look good? Truly is unbelievable how appreciated it is for all you folks do for us. It really matters to us. Thank all of you. We'll get the leadership up here and we'll go ahead and do our leadership gifts now. Senator Nethercott.
Thank you. Real briefly, Mr. President, privilege of the floor here. Judy's other daughter, Jessica, who was in Memphis, I think, for a medical school conference, is actually the author and has worked tirelessly on the High Plains Arboretum. And so they are thrilled to know that we did get that project at least partially funded for now. And so I hope you're able to get a copy of this book and know that it is the work of Ms. Parks' daughter.
So if leadership will all come up, we'll do our gifts now and come in. So. Come on! All right! Yeah,
It's ticking.
Senator Kinski. Senator Driscoll.
I don't have a lot to say. I'm going to hand this over to the majority floor leader for a minute and we'll
Let me
go ahead.
Yeah,
Let him take the lead.
So this year I got these gifts, and then you guys can all open them as I'm speaking. But this is something from my community. We have a company called Range Leather that is on 2nd Street, and it's been an incredibly successful small business. And this year I thought it would be appropriate to work with them to provide the leadership gifts. This is really an incredible success story for Laramie. This is a business that started from the ground up downtown, now employs over 30 people, is expanding their building, and is building out. They have gone from manufacturing, and they still manufacture everything in-house in Laramie, Wyoming, working with leather that they get that's tanned out of Chicago. And they now have been focused on providing customized leather goods that they build in-house. So we have this, and each of these wallets then that we have are monogrammed for each of our legislators and have the state seal on the front. So this is my gift to all of you on behalf of the minority and on behalf of the legislature. I hope you'll enjoy it, and think of Laramie, Wyoming when you do, because this is our small town and our community. Thank you. Yep. Yes, yeah, exactly. And feel free to use those credit cards that are in the wallets to the greatest degree you can. Yeah, the bill will come right back to me. That's all real.
Crafted not to wear out. Yeah, right. Okay, I guess my turn next for each of you folks. We've got Minority Floor Leader, Senator Hicks, Majority Floor Leader, Vice President Kinski, and Minority Whip. So these are Same deal, kind of handmade deal out of a old family from Oregon. It is been there for a long time, and this gal does some really fun work, and I think it's fairly fitting. Each one of them is kind of personalized to each one of you. And I guess beyond gifts, I can't thank all of you enough for all the things we've had and all the times we've had together. It much, much appreciated. So we'll open those up. Please, no use of them right here.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
This is why I wanted your brand, Senator Hicks, that you didn't have one. It was, the brand was supposed to be on the handle, but I couldn't get one. I nearly registered one for you. And tip them over. They're engraved on the other side.
Oh my gosh.
So
This is gorgeous. Thank you so much.
you got the Mighty Bull, and they're engraved on the other side as well.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is
Thank you.
gorgeous. Thank you.
So, thank you. Thank all of you. Thanks, sir. Thank you, Tate. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's figure this out some way, man.
With a knife drawn.
Yeah, exactly.
Knives drawn.
Knives out. Knives out.
Should we have?
Don't put them in. That's pretty impressive. She does neat work.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. This is incredible.
Very good.
Where was this? This is in.
So these came out of Oregon. I don't know where the knives come from, but the lady's name that does them is Michelle Severe. And so for any of you who are rodeo guys, Severe Brothers was kind of one of the classic saddle makers and old rodeo type gear out of Oregon. And one of the boards I sit on, her husband was I was a grandnephew of the Severes, and she does all kinds of the scrimshaw and engraving on it. Actually, a lot of them are on bighorns, and absolutely beautiful work. She's also a very talented artist as well, so she does lots of other things. And I thought it was pretty fitting for us. As I'm sitting by about as good elk hunter as you ever find his house is with. So he's got the elk. Everybody's got a different animal. So each one of you have your own. So thank you.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
From Senate staff. So, my wife calls me last minute Larry because I have this propensity to put everything off to the last moment. So by the time I kind of tried to figure out something that was appropriate for the president, it was kind of a last minute deal because it's kind of hard to buy presents. But something that you may or may not know about the president, he is a collector of old books. And if you ever go to his house, he has one of the best collections of some stuff that is only one editions. And so we were trying to find something that was fitting of his interest of collecting old rare books. He's on occasion lent me some to talk about some of the earliest Supreme Court cases to deal with water law. Prior appropriation doctrine that started here in Wyoming and the land grants and the whole, it's just a phenomenal number of books that he has. Very well versed in the history of Wyoming. So last minute, what we have is not arrived yet, but we've got the president a 2-volume set that has been out of print for a number of years on the annals and the history of Wyoming, a leather-bound set of the history of Wyoming. So hopefully he gets to spend some time reading that under his cherry tree back at home at Devil's Tower.
Here.
Thank you so much. I will re-gift to you. You actually have a book called 400,000 Acres. It's very hard to find. You keep it. It's a good one. It is a book I gave to Senator Hicks or loaned to him a few years ago. It was written about, I believe, 70 or 80 years ago. And you could read it today on this floor and not know that there was any change on the federal lands and what's going in the state from that book. It is the same fights, the same arguments, same areas as then. And when I picked it up and read it the first time when I bought it, I thought, oh my God. And I took it down and I gave it to Larry, and I'd only read about 2/3 of it. He still has it. It's somewhat of a Bible, so he gets to keep it at this point. I asked to get to inscribe it someday to you.
So it was actually penned in the 1930s, and so it's 100 years old. And if you do read through it, there's a lot of discussion about the fights over the federal lands and, how the water was appropriated and riparian doctrine and where prior appropriation. It's just a wonderful book. I was going to give it back at some point in time. I just can't tell how far out in the future that might have been. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. I think,
Staff.
yeah,
Judy, are you presenting? Yes, I am.
okay.
I wasn't sure I was going to do this, but the staff has a gift for President Driscoll, and it's also not done yet. It's the scrapbook that I've been working on, and so it will be done in the next couple of weeks, and you'll receive it. And we thank you for all that you've done for us as president, but this is just a little thing that you can open now. And this is from the Senate staff.
Thank you. And as last chance Larry said, I don't have yours. I didn't get what I wanted put together for part of your staff. So don't feel left out. It's that I'm exactly where Senator Hicks was at. I really work hard to try to find stuff that's kind of appropriate. And I really couldn't get exactly what I wanted for you and the chief clerk. So you'll have things coming. Thank you. God, looks like Christmas, kids.
It does, yeah. Here, here.
Do we have any business, Ellen, or oh, look at this, you have work for me. Messages from the House.
From the House of Representatives, dated March 8, 2024. Message number 308. Mr. President, the House adopted Joint Conference Committee Number 1 report on Senate File 118, the Bighorn and Domestic Sheep Relocation Federal Action. Ayes 49, noes 11, excused 2. Signed, Katie Talbot, House Chief Clerk.
Senator Steinmetz, if you're ready on message 272, requesting concurrence on Senate File 13. I'll have that read in, please.
Message number 272, referencing Senate File 13, Federal Land Use Plans, Legal Actions Authorized.
Senator Steinmetz.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move concurrence on message 272 and urge you to vote aye. Fellow senators, this was the amendment put on by the House on Senate File 13, Federal Land Use Plans, Legal Actions Authorized. They increased the amount of borrowing authority to the LSRA to $75 million and allowed boards of county commissioners with 2/3 votes of management council to be able to access these funds. They seem pretty solid on their position, as they did not appoint a conference committee until about 5 minutes ago. So I think we just need to pass this and vote aye on concurrence.
Thank you. Anybody? No. Motion is the Senate do concur on Senate File 13 and vote aye. Chief Clerk will please call the roll.
Senate File 13 concurrence. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Barlow? No. Whitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? No. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter?
Excused.
Excused. Ellis, conflict. French? Aye. Murphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? Aye. Jones? Aye. Kinski? Aye. Kolb? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott, conflict? Thank you. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? No. Steinmetz? Aye. President Driscoll?
No.
No. Dockstetter? No to, I'm sorry.
He was excused to aye.
Aye. Thank you. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 13 concurrence vote, 24 aye, 5 no, 2 conflict.
By your vote, you have concurred on Senate File 13. Do we have any more?
That's it.
That's it for now. We'll stand at ease to the sound of the gavel.
Madam Chief Clerk, that House Bill 138, my understanding